Hey everybody, this is Joe Gilder from HomeStudioCorner.com. I'm going to talk to you today about how to create a de-esser in Studio One using the Multiband Dynamics plugin, or any multiband compressor will work. Now, when I'm normally working on a mix and I need a de-esser, I'll use the de-esser plugin that I have from Waves. However, if you don't have a Waves bundle, you certainly don't need to go buy one just to have a de-esser. You can create one using a multiband compressor if you have one. Okay, if you want a more in-depth explanation on what a de-esser is and why you need it, check out the article that I linked to below this video. Randy Coppinger wrote a great piece on what Sibilance is and different ways to deal with it and how to create a de-esser in his system. And this is how to create one in Studio One. It's kind of a companion piece of content to the article that he wrote. So very cool idea. Wanted to share that with you. So here is a very silly vocal recording that I did to create a bunch of sibilance so we can now take care of it. So take a quick listen.
Sweet and sassy Susan slowly sang her silly song.
Okay, it's got a lot of S's, a lot of sibilance going on, but we're going to deal with that. So the sibilance is already there, correct? So first thing we're going to do is when we're mixing, we're going to add in things like EQ to take out some of the mid-range and low end and boost the highs to give it some crispness.
Sweet and sassy Susan slowly sang her silly song.
And you hear the very end of that phrase, song. It's got that airiness to it that just sounds great, but everything else has a little too much harshness. So I don't want to get rid of the high boost, but I probably need to deal with the S's because otherwise it's too much. Then come and add a compressor and it just enhances the sibilance a little bit more.
Sweet and sassy Susan slowly sang her silly song.
But that note being held out at the end still sounds great. The compressor brought that up even more. So now we've got a decent tone. We just need to deal with that sibilance because in the mix it's just going to cut through too much and be a little much. So how do we do that? Well, here is the Multiband Dynamics plugin from Studio One. And when you first open this, it might have 4 or 5 bands open. You see there's individual bands with individual compressors for each band. We're going to get rid of all but 2. So we're going to just turn these down until we just have 2 compressors going, 2 bands. Now in the lower band, we want to just disable everything. It's not going to do anything. So we're going to set the ratio to 1:1, turn the threshold all the way up. This band is not doing anything. The one we're going to focus our attention on is this band. So the first thing we want to do is we want to actually find the right frequency for this band. So we're going to take whatever's in this band, and that's going to be what gets compressed or turned down, which is going to be the sibilance in our case. So let's just take a listen, and let's move this frequency around until we find the right spot.
Sweet and sassy
You know what? We're going to solo this band to make it easier.
Sweet and sassy Susan slowly sang her silly song. Sweet and sassy Susan slowly sang her silly song.
So I just dial that around until I hear the minimal amount of voice and the maximum amount of sibilance, okay? My voice trailed off and all we're hearing is s, s, s. That's how you know you're at about the right spot. If I went down here to around 2K,
Sweet and sassy
there's a lot more of my voice in there. That's not as good. Up here around 5K, today on this voice is about the right frequency.
Sweet and sassy Susan.
Okay, so now that we've identified our frequency, we've set our band, we can now listen to the full band.
Sweet and
Now we need to take care of this sibilance. So let's set the ratio over here to something pretty aggressive. Again, this is the ratio just of our de-esser. Set it to 4:1, a quick attack, quick release, because we just want to capture those S's and then let them go. And then let's just bring the threshold down slowly and see how much, let's basically go over the top so you can hear what it's doing.
Sweet and sassy Susan slowly sang her silly song. Sweet and sassy Susan slowly sang her silly song.
So if you use too much de-essing, the singer either sounds like he has a lisp or just sounds dull. Neither one of those is good, but you can hear how it's taking care of that sibilance. So let's start at the top again, and let's just bring it down until the S's sound more balanced with the rest of the vocal, more natural sounding.
Sweet and sassy Susan slowly sang her silly song. Sweet and sassy Susan slowly sang her silly song.
There you go. We still hear the S's. It still sounds funny because there's so many S's in a single phrase. However, the S's aren't dominating now. Let's listen to the before and after. Here's the signal without any de-essing.
Sweet and sassy Susan.
And here it is with the de-esser.
Sweet and sassy Susan.
You can still make out what I'm singing, but the S's aren't chopping your face off. One thing to note, I like to put the de-esser at the beginning of the chain, so I take care of those S's before I hit the EQ and compressor. But you can do it however you want. Try some different things, but I've had the most luck putting it there. Okay, that's it. That's how you create a de-esser using a multiband compressor. Be sure to check out the links below this video for some extra training on how to use and create de-essers.